Well, they won. There it is. There it is, folks. The Knicks pick up their first win of the year last night. Episode 570 of the podcast. No need to waste time. Let's get right into it. Welcome to BD4, an RJ Carbone podcast. BD4, where there is no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, MMA on occasion. BD4 is a 5-star show on Apple Podcasts, also available in video format on YouTube and Spotify. So thanks for stopping by, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Champion of the world, turning, looking, see ya!
Anthony for three, bang! That one goes down, and the game is tied! Time!
Penetrates, creates, and showing some dexterity as well with the left hand.
Yankees win!
All right. Welcome to the show, episode 570 of the podcast. Welcome to BD4. I'm your host, RJ. That was fun. The first Friday night Knicks game of the year. It's good to see Clyde back. 126-120 the final in Atlanta last night for the Knicks. Taking that victory, it just felt huge. Felt like a huge win. I know that's crazy to say for the second game of the season, but, of course we want to be in Atlanta forever. Screw them. They're a bunch of posers, but, just because you've got a tough schedule to start the year, this was the first of a back-to-back, and you didn't want to lose this one and have to still be lingering, 3 games into the year looking for a win, facing a tough New Orleans team coming up tonight. So you just wanted to get that first win out of the way so you could take a deep breath. And you got it, 126-120. Big games from a few guys. RJ Barrett, 26 and 6. Jalen Brunson, 31 points. Career high 8 3-pointers made. Randle, 17, 12, and 9 last night. Just missed. And some other guys with some contributions as well. We'll get to them. It was a close game the majority of the game. It was very much like the Boston game where the Hawks were the Knicks in this case, where they were just still hanging around the entire night. Both teams struggled early again, especially from three-point land. Quentin Grimes, I think, finally knocked one down, and that kind of awoke both sides. The Knicks get very hot. They go up by 10 points. Atlanta gets hot. They erase that. 3 consecutive threes or something like that. And at the end of the first, it's 35-31 Knicks. Second quarter, Brunson, RJ, they continue their strong starts. Knicks start getting sloppy with the ball, though. Some turnovers in there. But their hot shooting keeps them in it. DiVincenzo starts to get red hot. He makes his first 4 shots in a row to start the night. DeAndre Hunter on the other end was a tough task for the Knicks to defend in the first half. But the Knicks go into the break 69-61. Third quarter comes. Brunson stays on fire. That's where he reaches his career high in 3-pointers made. RJ keeps putting points up on the board. DiVincenzo keeps it up. There was some great ball movement in the third quarter, especially from Randle. That continued throughout the entire night. Atlanta, again, though, just sticking around, and by the end of 3, it was 100-92 Knicks. Fourth quarter, the Knicks kind of get cold. They start slow. They cool off from the arc. They miss their first 8 3-point attempts in the period. Trae Young, meanwhile, finally gets something going. He leads the Hawks on this 10-0 run. They make it a 1-point game. Josh Hart quickly ends that, but Atlanta still kind of finding it, and the Knicks still kind of cold after that. But finally, in the final 5 minutes or so of the game, you get some very timely baskets from the Knicks' top 3 guys. RJ, Randle, Brunson, and then you got the very brutal turnover at the end of the game. something every night. But 2 turnovers, actually. With less than 30 seconds left, the Knicks are up 4. Brunson throws one to Grimes in the left corner. Grimes loses it out of bounds. Can't happen. I have to look at the replay again, but I saw the play live, then MSG showed the replay. I want to go back and look at it one more time because in the moment it seemed like Brunson forced that pass, and I felt like he should have went weak side where you had RJ and Randle, and it looked like you had an open Randle on the weak side of the floor. But again, Atlanta was sending a double on him up top, though, so I don't know. I have to look at it again. But after that, they get the ball, and they come within 2 points. And then the next possession, Brunson, again, taking it up the court, this time on the other side of the floor. And right before he crosses the timeline, he tries to throw a pass to RJ on the opposite wing this time. Same wing as Brunson's on, but the ball goes out of bounds again. Fortunately, this time Atlanta blew it when Capella and Young, Trae Young sucks, each miss some pretty easy layups. Capella had a tough time finishing that lob from Trae Young, Mitch. And then Trae Young, on their next possession, completely botches a clear path layup in a 4-point game with 12 seconds left. And really from there, the Knicks get the boards, and Randle secures it by knocking down a bunch of clutch free throws. This time, we figure that one out, and the Knicks win 126-120. It was a good game. I want to start by praising the head coach because I thought Tom Thibodeau coached a masterful game last night. If we all criticize him 90% of the time, it feels, I think it's only fair to give him the proper credit when he deserves it. And last night, I thought Thibs continued his strong start. With the lineups, just mixing and matching last night. You saw, what was that lineup in the first half? He goes with Quickly, DiVincenzo, RJ, Josh Hart, and Mitch. I'm never going to like RJ and Hart together. It worked last night. But I love the idea of RJ, IQ, and Donte together. I thought that was a new wrinkle. How about Randle being the first starter to play with the second unit last night? Right? Thibs checks everybody out, but he keeps Brunson and Randle in. Usually that's RJ who sticks around to play with them. And minutes later, RJ did come in, but for a good 3.5, maybe 4 minutes, you had Randle playing with Quickly, Hart, and Hartenstein. So that's something we discussed in our season preview. And then at the end of the game, when Mitchell Robinson, he was initially subbed out for Hartenstein, but as soon as that Brunson turnover happened, Thibs subs him back in. And that was the big sub there because Mitch he's a perfect matchup for Atlanta. So, you want to close the game with him because of how the Hawks run their half-court offense. They love those, they love the high pick-and-roll offense. And who better to guard that than Mitchell Robinson? So what happens? Well, Mitch is subbed back in, and he made arguably the biggest play of the night by disrupting that pick-and-roll between Young and Capella with 20 seconds left. That's the one that Capella couldn't finish. And if you go back and watch that play, that is not a play, probably not a play that Isaiah Hartenstein can make because Mitchell Robinson has the length, mobility, has the athleticism to be able to get up and reach that ball. So absolutely credit Tom Thibodeau for that there, making the switch. That saved the game. I mean, that goes in, and it's a little scary. Thibs handed out 20-plus minutes of action to 8 of the 9 guys in the rotation last night. Hartenstein was the one who got the short end of the stick, 10 minutes, but he closed with all the starters last night. That was different than what we saw in Boston. He had, I say for the final 4 minutes, all the starters checked back in. Quickly and Donte were in there until the 4-minute mark, along with Hart. So I had no problem with any of that. How about the way the way the Knicks offense ran last night? Just like a well-oiled machine. They were even running Jalen Brunson off ball some more. That's new. That's something that's going to be important for the Knicks to do. They were using those guard screens. You know, we saw a lot of screening from RJ, Grimes, Quickly, and Josh Hart too. Right in the fourth quarter last night, RJ Barrett goes over to the right wing. He screens for Brunson to get the switch, gets Hunter off of Brunson, and Murray onto RJ. That led to the Randle 3. I just like the way they ran their offense. You saw them hunting Trae Young, putting him into action, using ball screens to get him into a mismatch. Just the movement last night where there's like the ball movement was there. The off-ball movement was there. DiVincenzo moving off the ball exceptionally well last night. That's a big deal. RJ and Randle, great distributing. More on that in a second. They were fantastic passing last night. 30 assists for the Knicks on 43 makes. That's a 70% rate. So I don't know how long this is going to last, but the Knicks also shot the ball lights out from 3 again. 18 of 41 in Boston or against Boston, 44%. Last night, 20 for 44, 46%. Enjoy it. So I liked the way Thibs ran the game last night. If I have one little tiny critique, because we always have to do that, it's that, Emmanuel Quickly is a very good ball handler late in the game. He's had tons of success as just a ball handler in clutch situations. He's under control there. Brunson has had some tough moments with turnovers late in games, and I go back to game 6, and that still haunts me. He doesn't always handle traps well, as we saw more last night. So maybe just for that one possession, I have Quickly in the game there, taking it up the wing during that 122-120 possession. But I'm not in any way holding that over Tom Thibodeau's head. Brunson is your guy. Quickly was having a nightmare game. I had no issue with Brunson taking it up court. He's your best player. He's your clutch guy. I think it's ridiculous for anyone to be angry about that. But I would have preferred, just for that one possession we saw Quickly taken up court. But again, that's a nitpick. I believe that through 2 games, Tom Thibodeau has coached very well. And somebody who's played very well through 2 games, RJ Barrett. Let's talk about RJ.
Bing bang.
RJ Barrett last night against the Hawks, 26 points, 3 boards, 6 assists, a steal, no blocks, 3 turnovers, 60% from the field, 9 of 15, 60%. Actually, I have that on the graphic. I have the graphic wrong. He's 60% from 3 of 5, and 5 of 6 at the free throw line across 34 minutes. Yeah. I want to start like the reads. The reads that RJ Barrett is making so far this year, impressive through 2 games. There's a noticeable difference. It's no longer just straight line left, but he's got a plan and he's making adjustments. The process just looks a whole lot better for RJ on his drives. He's finding the open man. He had another drive or 2 last night where he stopped, pulled up for mid-range, and he knocked it down with ease. He just looks so comfortable there, and that's a whole new wrinkle. Like, if he can get that pull-up baseline jumper working consistently, wow. That he looks very smooth there. But it's the passing for me, right? We're just seeing some very impressive passing so far. And something I noticed that I liked was that possession we sort of brought up earlier. Less than 2 minutes in the game, RJ sets that right wing screen to get the switch onto Murray. He receives the pass from Brunson, attacks Murray baseline, loses the ball, recovers, and once he retrieves it, makes a great pass weak side to an open Julius for 3. And I watched that play unfold. I feel like most of the time RJ Barrett in a play like that forces up a tough shot and he gets blocked or he turns it over there. So that to me was pretty noticeable for him to make that quick read on the fly like that. So if you get RJ Barrett passing like this more this year, that's going to lower those, that's going to increase the efficiency, right? Those low quality shots are going to disappear and the efficiency will increase. It's 2 games. This is the RJ Barrett enigma. He looks like a rising star at times, and then other times he looks like a sixth man, right? So to me, it's all about what he does on his drives. It's finding that balance between passing and going up with his shot. And I think last year, I saw this on Twitter, there were only 3 games the entire year where RJ Barrett had 6 assists. So good start to have that in game 2. His scoring is obviously impressive. He's killing it in transition right now. He looks noticeably quicker. We've mentioned that in the preseason. Getting to the free throw line a ton. That's also important for his efficiency. Obviously, he's knocking him down too. So we'll see. You know, is this sustainable? Just probably just a good start. I'm not expecting it, but it doesn't mean RJ can't improve. He's in year 5. Usually that's where a player, you know, that's by the time you get to year 4, year 5, you are who you are. But he's also 23 years old. So it's not like he can't improve a little bit still. And he's held his own so far. He did a nice job against Tatum on opening night on both ends. He ate up Trae Young and DeAndre Hunter last night, and now he's got Brandon Ingram, who's going to be a tough task tonight. He's long, he's tough, he's athletic. I will say, you know, maybe, again, we've talked about this too, knowing his role for the first time in RJ Barrett's career, I'm hoping that kind of helps him. Because, you know, his rookie season, he went into it with Randle and Marcus Morris. So you didn't really know where Fizdale was going to put RJ in the pecking order. It was kind of the same thing the next 2 seasons with Julius around, right? Even after Randle's great COVID year, there was still a vibe that RJ should be the franchise guy. And then they bring in Brunson last year. Randle's coming off a nightmare season, and it was, you know, is RJ the number 1, 2, 3? Is he going to be the 4, right? But now, this year, you're bringing back the same roster, sans Donte DiVincenzo. RJ knows exactly what his role is. He knows he's number 3. He's the number 3 guy. That has maybe helped him get off to this good start, and hopefully that helps him prepare. You know, it helps you mentally. You can prepare better that way. You know your role, and things just work smoother for you. That's why he's playing within the flow of the offense right now, maybe. Maybe FIBA's helped him too. He's building off of that, building off that good postseason he had last year. So we'll see. We'll see with RJ. It's nothing to really go crazy about right now. It's 2 games, but it's nice. So he gets his second Bing Bong ball in 2 games. So RJ Barrett leading the Knicks to start here. And then we're going to go over to the bench and hand one over to Donte DiVincenzo. Why not, right? I mean, hold on one sec. Let's play the sound if I can.
Bing bang.
There we go. Donte last night, 16 points. The night after scoring 0 points, the game after, he goes for 16 points, 6 of 10 shooting, 3 of 5 from 3. Quickly erases that dud from opening night. Again, moving off of the ball incredibly well last night. That's going to be important to have wings like him and Grimes, who usually move well off the ball. Doing things without having to have the basketball in your hand is crucial. Yeah, just putting the Hawks into action and making them defend, right? And he came here for everything he brought last night. 3-point shooting and defense. He knocked down 3 triples last night and had some range on some of those shots, and he was very active on the defensive end. You see the high IQ. So he looks good. One thing I will keep bringing up that we continue to see with him Donte DiVincenzo has zero touch around the basket. That's been a problem for him in the past. I was looking into the numbers on NBA.com. Just 63% of the basket last year, 46% the year before, 54% prior to. That's not a number you want to see. None of those are good numbers. At the basket for a wing, you usually want to be closer to 70%. To see him already struggling at the basket. Like, I didn't know he was bad at the basket. And, we saw him in preseason miss some easy layups, and I was like, let me check. So I checked, and I'm like, oh, this is a thing with him. So something to keep an eye on. But remember, the Knicks, listen, if he does his job here, he defends, rebounds, knocks down shots, I'm good. I'm cool. The Knicks got him at mid-level exception. So we have to relax with the expectation. He's fine. It was nice to see Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson kind of rebound from that Boston game. Brunson, you knew, wasn't going to shoot like shit again. His whole MO last year was his consistency. If he had a bad game, he was not letting it affect him tomorrow. And last night you saw that. 31 points, 11 to 21, 8 of 12 from 3. Killed it. Absolutely sniping from 3 last night. And again, off of the ball threes he was knocking down, which is important. You're going to have him play play off the ball more. That'll only help this offense. Killed it from 3. He's still having some trouble at the first 2 levels right now. The floater isn't consistent yet. The mid-range hasn't been on point yet, but I'm not concerned there because his bread and butter is making baskets on 2s. So I believe that will come. I know Randle didn't shoot well again last night, 40%, but I like, first off, that he didn't press. He was a moderate 4 for 10. So he didn't shoot horribly. He was 4 for 10 in 34 minutes. So he kept it there. 10 shots. That's all. I'm not exactly on my game tonight. So I'll distribute. And he was distributing the ball from the block, from the elbow, exceptionally well. He was playing that point forward role, making the correct reads, not forcing any tough shots or turnarounds or over dribbling. Didn't really get a ton of dribbling from him last night. Instead, he was getting everybody involved, creating opportunities in catch and shoot, a lot of spot ups. He found Donte out of a soft double late first quarter. He hit up Brunson from post up. He worked well with RJ in catch and shoot. There was that outlet he threw to RJ in transition, making great kickouts to everybody last night. And I'm noticing he's making a conscious effort so far to push the ball up the floor off of a defensive rebound. He's not trying to take the ball up himself, but he's giving it to his guards. He gave it to RJ some. He handed it to Donte DiVincenzo. He's letting his guards do the work to push the ball up the court. And again, we mentioned the outlet pass. So it was good. Overall, 17 points, 12 boards, 9 assists. I wish the Knicks had that guy next to Brunson so Randle could have more games like he did last night where he's playing like a fit and not a face. Because if we had another star next to JB, all I would ask for is 17 and 12. I know he has to do a little more right now. We can't get complacent, but we're still looking for that home run move. But the way he played last night, he doesn't have to be the face of everything. I wish we were in a world where Randle was the number 3 option, but unfortunately, we don't have another better player on the roster than him. It's just Jalen Brunson. But he played well, and that's the Randle that we need to see. When we return from break, I want to touch on one more thing. It's going to be a shorter episode because I want to get this episode out. It has a short shelf life because we've got a back-to-back coming up. A few hours, we start this New Orleans game. But when we return from break, I want to talk a little bit about the defense because the defense wasn't good overall last night, but there were a couple guys I want to point out specifically that I liked their performance. So stay with us. We'll be right back in a few minutes.
We appreciate you sticking around and listening so far. When you have a chance, be sure to open YouTube to subscribe, like, and comment. And if you're already watching on YouTube, be sure to head over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review. We appreciate your feedback and are always looking to improve. Now, with that all said, let's get you back to the show. You can also find us on social media. If you'd like, you can follow BD4 on Facebook, and we're at BD4Pod on both Instagram and Twitter. We appreciate you helping us grow more and more every day. Let's get back to it. If you have time in the day or maybe just prefer old-fashioned reading over listening, then you can always follow along and subscribe to BD4 Blog by going to BD4blog.com. We're not on there as often, but when we do post, it's just as entertaining, opinionated, and passionate as we are on this podcast. Thank you so much. And let's keep on with the show.
Studio 69 Productions is a podcast production agency created by Leo Rodriguez to allow content creators to market their podcast. It's an online platform that will market your podcast or any other project that you're working on. Get in touch with Leo Rodriguez from Studio 69 Productions. You can find Studio 69 Productions on Instagram at Studio 69NJ. Studio 69 Productions, where dreams are heard and born. Welcome back to the show. I am your host, RJ Carbone. You are listening to episode 570 of BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. Yanks every series, we cover the Knicks every game, and we do some MMA on occasion. So I appreciate you all stopping by. You could find this podcast on a few different platforms. You can listen to it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or you can watch the video edit of this podcast on YouTube and Spotify as well. If you want to follow our blog, subscribe to our blog, you can go to BD4blog.com. Sign up to get new BD4 content delivered directly to your inbox. Just enter your email on the homepage. On that blog, I do everything. I write the blog, but you can also find the plugs to the podcast, the many different platforms to this podcast that you can listen to it on and watch it. You can find me on social media. The plugs, the links to my social media are on BD4blog.com, where you can find me on Facebook, BD4, Twitter, at BD4Pod, or Instagram, at BD4Pod. And I also have my personal Instagram, at Rob J. Carbone, where I basically just promote this podcast, like I'm doing now. So yeah, BD4blog.com. We write blogs on there on occasion, not a ton, but I'm going to try to be active again. I just wrote a blog recently about the Knicks opening loss against Boston. If you want to go check that out on BD4blog.com, you can find that there. We wrote about the Boston loss. It's a good article. I advise you check it out. We just broke down some problems from that game. So again, BD4blog.com, where we talk Knicks, Yankees, MMA. And again, we're trying to be more active on there. Usually we do one or two a month, but it's been slow for a little bit now. But we are going to be a little more active on there, or at least try to this year. So thank you for stopping by, and I want to get back to the show because I want to cover the defense last night. Again, all in all, it was not great. The Knicks allowed 120 points. I like certain individual defensive efforts that I saw last night. Mitchell Robinson, his individual pick and roll defense was excellent. In total, he had 7 points, 13 rebounds, 4 steals, 4 blocks. 6 offensive rebounds and 8 stocks is an excellent line to have there. But yeah, his defense just disrupting pick and rolls between Trae and Clint Capella all night last night. That timely one at the end of the fourth quarter was so key, but you can just see how much more comfortable Mitchell Robinson is when he's defending traditional bigs in pick and roll offense, as opposed to defending a 5-out motion offense where he's got to play up against the stretch. And guarding pick and roll like he does, that's a very difficult job to do. to guard 1-on-2 like that and have the success he does, you got to have some incredible footwork. And that's what Mitch has. To be able to play and drop like he does, it's impressive. So shout out to him. He was all over the boards as well. The offensive glass, we know about that. Shout out to Quentin Grimes. We still got to work on getting those reps up, of course. He's still struggling to find that consistency offensively. 6 points, 2 of 6, 2 of 5 from 3, 25 minutes. But, there was a three-pointer he took where he shot right over Trae Young, closing out on him. That was encouraging to see because usually when players close out on Quentin Grimes, he's kind of tentative to shoot it, and instead he'll attack off the dribble. But I liked seeing that. But defensively, Quentin Grimes last night, all over Trae Young, hounding him. Trae Young finished with just 18 points, 4 of 6 from the field, 6 turnovers, and Quentin Grimes was a big reason for that. Trae Young is so overrated, man. He's inefficient offensively. He's sloppy. He doesn't play a lick of defense. You watch some of the defense he played last night. Oh my gosh. This guy's not a winner. I don't know how he won a single playoff game in his life. Looking back to 2020, 2021, how the hell did the Knicks lose to him? I can't believe a lot of NBA media in their top 100 lists have Trae Young over Jalen Brunson. It's incredible to me. I don't see that guy close to being as good as Brunson. He's flashy, so he gets the media hype, but as a winner, the guy he's not a winner. He gets his coaches fired. He's always losing big games. He's turning it over. I just, every time I watch the guy, I'm just like, I don't get it. I don't get the hype. I don't, because he shoots long threes. So credit to Quentin Grimes. But yeah, it was a good night. Those are basically my final thoughts. Listen, the Knicks aren't always going to play like this. They're not going to shoot lights out from 3 this year. They're not going to move the ball as well as they did last night. They're not going to have these crazy off-ball actions. Guys aren't going to continue moving off ball as well as we saw last night in motion like they were. Randle's going to have his ups and downs with the ball. But through 2 games, I think one thing you can say will continue is the way the Knicks have played. They're resilient. They don't stop fighting until that clock says 0-0-0. That's going to continue. And they keep playing like that. There's reason to believe that they'll have another strong season ahead of them. So that's it. I think that's all we've got. We're going to wrap this up, edit this podcast, get this up on the internet so we can have some views before, we want to get some listens on this episode before this Pelicans game begins in a few hours, because I am recording this on Saturday, October 28th, midday. It's like 3-something p.m. So that's it. We'll wrap this up right now with our trivia, and that'll be that. Let's get to it. All right, so for episode 570 of the podcast, our NYY-NYK-MMA trivia question of the day is, what was the Knicks' record last season against the Hawks in 4 games? What was the Knicks' record last season against the Hawks in 4 games? All right, so let me know the answer wherever you can reach me. If you get the answer correct, I will give you a shout out in the next episode. One final time. What was the Knicks' record last season against the Hawks in 4 games? So, that's it. That'll do it. I appreciate you all stopping by again. Episode 570 of BD4 in the books. And I will see you after this Pelicans game. I'll probably have a blog out. If I'm not busy, I'll try to get a blog up. Whew, my fuck. I went through an entire episode without cracking my voice. So that was a record. What'll be 35 minutes in about. Nice. All right. I'll see you then. Later. This episode was brought to you by Anchor.
Hey there! If you stayed the entire way through, we thank you immensely for it. We hope you enjoyed this podcast and that you come back for the next episode real soon. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, download these episodes, and share them with your friends as well. BD4 is a 5-star podcast simply because of you. And we'd like to keep it that way. Have a wonderful day. Go Yankees and go Knicks.